Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Innovators Radio. I'm your host, Ralph Brogdon, and today I am with Cami Baker. She is an international speaker, fiercely entrepreneurial, HGTV House Hunters veteran, and founder of the worldwide NetWeb. She has given over 1,000 presentations to audiences as large as 30,000. Her keynote is Mingle to Millions, the art and science of building business relationships and mastering referrals. It's also the name of her best-selling book. Cami has worked with companies like Berkshire Hathaway, Ronald McDonald House, Keller Williams, and hundreds of other groups, assisting their people in the art and science of building resources, relationships, and revenue that rock. She has been featured in Success from Home magazine. She's been on HGTV twice, and she's also appeared as a judge on NBC's The Celebrity Apprentice. Cami Baker, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Ralph, I just couldn't be more thrilled. And when I heard you read that, I thought, wow, that's me. That's pretty cool.
Well, that's awesome. You have got your hand in a lot of interesting and exciting things. Tell us a little bit more in a nutshell, who you are, what you do for people, and how you got started in this.
Well, I'll keep it short today. About 16 years ago, Ralph, I basically moved from one part of the country across the country. I had a 4-month-old baby and a U-Haul full of stuff, and I moved to a new part of the country. And, I found out that geographical cures don't cure everything. I brought with me addictions and bad choices in relationships and just a lot of decisions that had led me to where I was at that point. And I ended up getting a job that I couldn't stand, and I was undervalued first by myself and then by the company. And there came a point where I just decided it was time to put on my big girl panties and fix my life and my situation. I put down the booze. I got a different career. And part of all of that, I like to say, is because I changed who I associated with. I started reading again. I got coaching and mentoring. And there's a lot more to the story than that. But what I want to share with the listeners is, if you are business networking, if you are out needing to meet people, if you are one of those people who says, Cami, I'm not extroverted, I'm not like you, I don't have people skills, et cetera, I have heard all of it. And I'm here to tell you I've said all of it. And you can't come from a background like mine and just step onto a stage with a book, et cetera, without having gone through a lot of those insecurities and or, dare I say, excuses. And once I just basically decided, look, if it is to be, it is up to me. Nobody's going to fix this situation and take care of me and my daughter but myself. And when I got that new career, part of getting that career meant it was time to go out and network. It was time to not only meet more people, but meet a higher quality of person. And so over the last 10, 12 years, I've just learned from trial and error some really bad mistakes about grabbing too many cards or spraying my cards all over the place, not knowing how to follow up, et cetera, and just have really developed a system based on the fact that, business is built, your net worth is built through your network. And because I have been able to do that, people ask me all the time to teach them how to do it. So that's why I'm with you today on this show, to help at least one person listening learn that it's okay. If you don't know how to do it, it's a skill. It's not a talent for everyone. Very small percentage of people are actually born knowing how to communicate well in these awkward situations. So I can certainly help people get past the awkward and the ickiness of the business networking environment.
That's really exciting because I consider myself to be introverted, and that's my strength because I'm a strategist. But part of my job is I've got to be able to network and communicate with other people. So are you saying that learning how to communicate and how to network, regardless of whether or regardless of what your personality type is, it's a skill that we can learn. It's not something that we have to be born with?
Absolutely, and thank you for allowing me to clarify because, there's 4 distinct personality types, and some people are a combination of all of them, but the point is that, a lot of the times people are trying to be someone they're not. In other words, they think they have to go and be gregarious and flamboyant and outgoing and be someone that they're not. And so, for example, someone like yourself, and you're more of a thinker, I would say to you when you go to networking events, it's not about trying to be me or anybody else. It's about using that skill to your advantage. And frankly, people that are more quiet, sometimes they can do better at it because they can stick to just 3 contacts. I tell people all the time, focus on the few as opposed to, the masses. Because when we're out trying to grab a whole bunch of cards and get overwhelmed with too much, that's why people don't follow up. They've got 15, 20, 30 cards. They don't remember anybody. People don't remember them. What am I going to say, et cetera, et cetera. So, focus on 2 or 3 people so that you have time to build a meaningful conversation. And for yourself, that's what I would say to you, especially for someone like you that has a radio show. Boy, you've got something fun to talk about right off the bat with people. You can invite them to be on the show.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's not a question of better or worse. There is no better or worse. We are just naturally gifted in certain areas, and in other areas we need help. We need people who can come along and kind of help us connect the dots. Now, you do that with a lot of well-known companies that we mentioned: Berkshire Hathaway, Ronald McDonald House, Keller Williams, and you also work with individuals as well. What would you say is the biggest or the most common problem you see as you're working with people and with companies to teach them how to network and mingle to millions?
Well, in general, people are networking. They are wasting time networking because it's random activity, Ralph. They are randomly showing up. They're hoping and praying. That's why I created NetWebbing. NetWebbing leverages our time through planned strategy. So you as a strategist will appreciate this. So as opposed to just pulling up and hoping and praying that maybe some business will get done here today, how about if we looked at the 3 pillars? I'll make it simple. So the 3 pillars of my system program, my thought processes is, 1, we want to set the intention. Number 2, we want to pay attention. Number 3, we want to create retention. And just to give you a quick overview of what that looks like, we want to, 1, set the intention. One way that we can do that is, imagine this. Imagine if you walked in that room and there were already 1, 2, 3, 5 people there that you were already looking forward to meeting because of initiating a conversation. There's ways to find out who's going to be in that room. So that's one way to set the intention. Number 2, when we want to pay attention, now we want to start looking at how we're communicating and conversating and collaborating when we're in the room. Let's stop that boring 30-second elevator pitch. Ditch the pitch. The pitch is dead. And so when we pay attention, that's another thing that I talk about is paying attention and listening more than talking. And number 3, with the retention of the resources, relationship, and revenue, basically how we create retention is by actually following up. And so it's a beautiful flowing process that when we don't overwhelm ourselves with too many people, too many contacts, when we've created some nice rapport while we're there without just the whole "what do you do" tagline, and now we can create the relationships that we're looking for. So that's kind of the overview of how I teach the whole process, really.
That's awesome. Now, what is something that someone can do right now? And it may be a mindset thing, or it may just be a little exercise. I don't know. But what is something that someone could do right now just to kind of go beyond where they have been in their attitude towards networking? Some people see it too much like selling, or they're just not comfortable. But what is something that maybe someone could do right now to kind of shift gears and look at things differently and at least begin to see some immediate improvement in this area? What do you recommend?
Well, friend, I'm glad that you mentioned mindset, and it really does all come down to that, because I can give you all the skill sets in the world. I can give you scripts to use. I could tell you exactly what to say in every situation, et cetera, but it is not, Ralph, it is not who we talk to, and it is not what we say. It, at the end of the day, boils down to how we say it and who we are being, how we feel about ourselves. And so it does come down to mindset. Mindset's 90% of it. You can study all the fun scripts and strategies you want, but if your mind's not in the game, that's the crux of the problem. And unfortunately, we all come out squirming and happy and excited about life, and somewhere along the line between 1 and 7 years old, it gets beat out of us, and people are insecure and they're fear-based and they're afraid of being rejected, and what do people think about me and all that stuff. I get it. I was there. I wouldn't have been an alcoholic if I felt beautiful about myself at that time. And so I get how people feel. So the one thing that I would suggest, Ralph, is what I always suggest when I'm asked this question: change your playgrounds and your playmates. And what I mean by that is the playgrounds themselves aren't necessarily just the networking events, but I'm talking about who are you listening to? Who are you talking to? What are you listening to in your car? Are you listening to, Success from Home magazine CDs, or are you listening to rock and roll? Like right now it's springtime where I am, and thank God the snow was gone and I got some music on and the top down, but 90% of the time I'm listening to something inspirational, motivational, educational. So change what you're feeding into your mind, because little by little, that is a compound effect, as my mentor Darren Hardy would say. It's a compounding effect of changing those playgrounds over time. Because once you stop going to the playground with the broken equipment and start going to the nicer playground, before you know it, you start finding even nicer playgrounds than that. And this can start just in our mindset alone.
I really like the analogy there. I'm speaking with Cami Baker. She's an international speaker. She's author of the book Mingle to Millions, and she helps companies and individuals with networking, building relationships, and revenue that rock. So how would working with someone like you, Cami, be better than simply trying to wing it or figure it out or go through the traditional sales approaches? You mentioned that we should ditch the pitch, for example. And I think that speaks to all the traditional things that we're taught in sales and in networking about how we're supposed to memorize scripts and openings and closings. And we've got all this information, but somehow it is not helping us to be more effective at communicating. And it's not helping us to really build the relationships that we need to build in a relationship economy, particularly on the internet.
It's not helping. It does not work. So let's stop right now. And you've mentioned the word sales a couple of times, and if I may just kind of reframe our thinking on that, networking has nothing to do with sales. Networking is marketing. People will say they're in sales and marketing, which is backwards. It's marketing, then sales. And depending on your version of what marketing means, I'll just give you a quick one. Marketing simply means letting the market know that you exist. Presenting the product to the market in such a way that you can even get to the sales table to close the deal. In other words, whether you're wanting people to come to your website, whether you want them to come to your class, whether you want them to sit at the table and sign a contract, you got to get them to the table. And so networking is more of a marketing thing than a sales thing. And when we're marketing, the beautiful thing about networking is it's free marketing. So instead of blasting out, flyers in the mail or spending per clicks on Facebook or whatever, when we can just simply reframe and reposition. So here's how I look at it. We want to posture, package, present the product, which is you or me or the listener, so that we are repositioned as the expert or authority in our industry, so that when we walk into that room, by the way, networking isn't just a place we go or something we put on our calendar. It tends to be the way that we discuss it in these interviews. But whether we're walking into a networking room, whether we are sending out an email to someone to LinkedIn, whether we are on Facebook doing a Facebook Live or a post, when we are walking into that conversation, we need to have our mindset straight and position our expert even want to do business with us. And it may be that they need our business right this second. It may be that we're planting a seed for something 3 or 6 months from now. It may be that we're just creating a relationship that is going to turn into a lifelong friendship of referrals. Like, we don't know what that looks like, but the reason, Ralph, to answer your question, why someone would want to work with someone like myself is, why would you want to, take lessons before you get behind the wheel of a car? Why would you want to take lessons before you try to fly an airplane? Why would you take lessons before you get in the ring to fight a match? Because there are skills that need to be acquired in order to win at anything. And in this case, the skills that are acquired aren't just around business. They're around communicating with human beings in every aspect of our life. I call it bridging the humanity gap, learning how to communicate, conversate, and collaborate to create the impact, income, and influence that we're all going to have. Isn't just about business. It's about, changing lives all over the world. That's why I call it Mingle to Millions. It could mean millions of dollars to you. It could mean millions of people read your book. It could be millions of lives are touched. And for me, it's actually transformed over the years since I created that logo and brand. To me now, when I speak with someone like yourself or one of my clients that is a shape-shifting, visionary, heart-centered entrepreneur who's going to go to thousands of people, my Mingling to Millions is one person at a time who's going to go out and create a ripple effect so that tens of millions of people are enhanced and uplifted from my message just because somebody was touched and they continue to spread the message as well.
I really like that. And networking and how we look at it and how we think about it has really evolved over the years, especially with social media. And I'm curious your take. Social media, is it helping us to network better, or is it making us more shallow and less connected, if that makes sense?
Well, I appreciate that question, and people have even said things to me before like, well, I don't need to learn how to network. I do my business online or something like that. And here's what I say to that, Ralph, whether it's face-to-face, Facebook, or on the phone. And when I say Facebook, I mean any medium, any social media medium. No matter what it is, human beings are human beings treated the same way now as they did a million years ago. In other words, as far as the personality styles that we have, our underlying needs, desires, wants as a person, we also want to feel acknowledged, accepted, approved, considered, respected, loved, appreciate, just all these. We still want to feel that way. And even though people do tend to hide behind their computer a little bit more now than they used to, I think you mentioned early in this that this is a more giving and open economy that is involved now. And so actually, I talk about on my Facebook Lives, I talk about something called 30, 30, and 30, where we get 30 leads in 30 days with as little as 30 minutes a day of effort. And when I talk about that, I talk about going into Facebook and sending people the little 15-second video clips that you can't do Facebook Messenger. So when we're communicating, words on a page are good. Our voice is better, but our face and people being able to see our body language is best. And so on social media, there's so many ways now that you don't have to just hide behind the computer. You can send people voice messages and video messages and all that type of thing, and really use social media to a higher standard than just hiding behind the computer at 2 a.m. We can use it to actually present, posture, package the product, and reposition ourselves as the expert through the social media so that when we are, networking situation or trying to take on a joint venture partner or wanting to collaborate with a big corporation, they can go back in our social media and say, wow, that person's got it going on. So I say use all of it. Anything in moderation is good. You don't want to focus too much on this or too much on that, and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket with one social media, et cetera. But hey, listen, we have this technology at our disposal now. Why would we fight it? Why not just go with the times, but understand that just because we're going with the times doesn't mean that human beings are different than they ever were. We still want to be accepted. We all want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. That's why getting hearts and the likes and the clicks and all that stuff in social media makes us all feel so good. We just want to be acknowledged. And so let's use that social media to bridge the humanity gap. I call it, that's the name of the TED Talk I'll be doing, Bridge the Humanity Gap. That's what we want to do.
I like that, and I think that's a really good synthesis of offline compared to online activity, and how do you bring it together? And you made the point, and that's how you bring it together, is remembering we're all human beings, and we all have pretty much the same motivations and desires for appreciation, acceptance, to feel heard, and all the things that you mentioned. So that's really good for our listeners to remember as they go forth and put these things into practice. Now, you mentioned a TED Talk, and I'm wondering what else you're working on right now, and maybe that's it that's got you really excited, that and anything else that you want to share.
Well, I tell you, I speak all over the country, and when I get the opportunity, I'll do it anywhere in the world. And whether it's TED Talk or a local chamber of commerce or a meetup, whether I'm putting together my own event or being brought in as a guest, that's what I'm working on. The more I am in front of other people, the more I can spread my message. So I'm always looking to book more speaking gigs. Like, as you mentioned, whether it's a one-on-one client that's an entrepreneur just getting started, or whether it's a big corporation that wants me to come in for a keynote talk, like we've said here, people are people. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like I do, and I think it's really important that people remember that. And I think one of the reasons why I've been able to go from where I was to what I'm doing now is because I let go a long time ago, Ralph, of being worried about what people think. Being so hung up on, do I fit in? Am I good enough? Am I okay? And, one of the messages that I share with people is, you've got to be. You got to be that which you want, so that you'll do that which that person would do, so that you have what they will have. When we sit around waiting to have something so that we'll do something so that then we'll be happy, or then we'll be healthy, or then we'll be successful, it just doesn't work that way. So, what I'm working on right now is having people read the book and come on the tours that I'm on when I'm speaking, and basically just watch my Facebook. Facebook, my Mingle to Millions page has got a fan base that's growing. I do a lot of Facebook Lives on there with different tips about, how to get booked on stages, and how to increase your perception and reception in the marketplace. I'm all about repositioning yourself as the expert, and one of the best ways to do that is to actually speak from the stage. I don't necessarily teach people how to do a TED Talk or a signature talk, but what I do is teach them how to use that speaking engagement to their advantage when they are out networking, to give them something fun to talk about, especially if it's tied to a social cause or a fundraising effort or something like that. So thank you for asking.
Sounds good. And I think that we're going to have people who want to be able to get in touch with you. What's the best way to reach out to you, Cami?
Well, I like to say I'm real, I'm raw, I'm relatable, and I'm reachable. So CamiBaker.com. I've had CamiBaker.com for years, and I always will. So Cami at CamiBaker.com. They can reach me on my Facebook, whether it's my personal page or whether it's my Mingle to Millions fan page. That's really the easiest way. But I like to say whether it's Twitter, a text, a carrier pigeon, or a smoke signal, Cami Baker is not hard to find. So just reach out.
And just for clarification, it's Cami, CAMI Baker.com. For those of you who are listening and you want to make note of that, CamiBaker.com. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share with us?
Well, as I mentioned before, the playgrounds and the playmates are just so important. So, even if it's just every day, really being aware, just really having the intention to pay attention so you create the retention. So let's have the intention of, on a daily basis, doing something positive, having the attention to, okay, right now I'm watching the news. I've already seen this plane crash 8 times today. Do I really need to watch that again? Right? Seriously. I got rid of my TV months ago, and before that, I never really watched it. I'll watch something on Netflix at night if I want to watch a comedy show or something, but turn off the television. You might have your computer and you might do your Facebook, but that doesn't mean even in your Facebook that you need to be scrolling through the feed and finding all the death and dismemberment that's going on. Guys, we can't fix the White House. Let's fix our house, and that starts with our mindset, yes. And so let's fix our mindset so that when we do go to these events, when we do step into any conversation, whether it's sending an email or leaving a voice message or whatever that is, when we stand with our head a little bit higher and our shoulders a little bit further back, and we know in our mind that our product or service is exactly what these people need, then we talk about it with a little bit more purpose and a little more zip in our step. That's why, as I'm on this call with you right now, I am 1,000% confident that anybody that reads that book or comes to one of my events or becomes one of my coaching clients, that their lives will be transformed because they're the kind of person who takes action, steps up, and wants to get the job done quickly and more professionally. And so I have every bit of confidence that I've got what people need if they are entrepreneurial, business-minded, coaches, mentors, that type of thing. So that's what I would share with folks. Just really watch what you're putting into your mind, because what you put into your mind is what's going to come out of your mouth.
Excellent. Words of wisdom from Cami Baker. She's an international speaker, and she is the author of Mingle to Millions, The Art and Science of Building Business Relationships and Mastering Referrals. Cami, thank you so much for being on Business Innovators Radio with me today. I really appreciate it.
I am absolutely on fire excited. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.